different lighting here. Natural light's a little harsh, but I show up a little better. Um, I'm going to break down the abortion death anniversaries for today, which um, is February 20th. The first one I'm going to talk about is a legal abortion death, a young woman named Stacy, and she was 23 years old, and she went to Dr. Scott Barrett um, for a safe legal abortion on February 20th, 1988. And Barrett's abortion clinic was in the basement of a used car dealership. It should have been a clue. This was a little bit unsavory, but people tend to think it's legal, it's licensed, it's safe, yada, 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 is how they trusted karmic gods. Now, but Barrett started the abortion at around 5 p.m. And during the abortion, Stacy stopped breathing, and Barrett and his staff were unable to revive her. And one source said that Stacy was on the table for an hour and a half without incident, but collapsed when she got off the table at 6 p.m. But that's not really that credible because an abortion usually doesn't take an hour. But staff called an ambulance, and the medics found Stacy in full cardiorespiratory arrest. Her pupils were not responsive. They tried to resuscitate her. They suctioned what they called copious amounts of blood from her airway. They inserted an endotracheal tube. They administered meds and oxygen, put an IV in, used a defibrillator. And they transferred Stacy to the ER. She had a racing pulse, fixed dilated pupils, and she was unable to breathe on her own. And they transfused her with packed red blood cells, gave her additional IV fluids, but her EKG, quote, revealed findings consistent with brain death. And Stacy's parents hadn't even known she was pregnant, and they rushed to the hospital to find that she was dead. Effectively, they removed life support. She was pronounced dead roughly half an hour before midnight. And Stacy's mother said, that night when we walked out of the hospital, I felt like I left part of me in there. Part of me was dead. You carry a child for 9 months and something like that happens. You feel like you lost part of yourself, part of your body, and you're never going to get it back. So you don't have to have an autopsy when a doctor is supervising the death, but Stacy's father requested one, and they found toxic concentrations of lidocaine in Stacy's blood. Her serum level drawn 2 hours after the abortion was more than 5 times the therapeutic level. And an expert who testified after her parents sued Barrett estimated that based on how quickly the body metabolizes lidocaine, the amount in her system at the time of abortion could have been as high as over 10 times the therapeutic dose. So in order to rule out other causes of death, the coroner examined 10 times the normal number of specimens looking for signs of an amniotic fluid embolism, which is when amniotic fluid gets into the woman's bloodstream and it causes some problems, but he could find no evidence. And he found, as he put, no evidence of any natural occurring disease process, which could account for her death. So clearly she had died because of the anesthesia mishap during the abortion. And this was a case where I read the court transcript. An anesthesiologist was asked under oath to give any possible medically valid reasons for administering that dose of lidocaine to Stacy, and he could think of none. And the only reason he could think of, which was not medically valid, was to speed up the abortion. And Barrett's nurse testified that he typically did 35 to 40 abortions a day at $300 each. And she and the other staff testified that Barrett actually routinely gave his patients massive doses of lidocaine when numbing their cervixes in order to render them unconscious. And the court also found that Barrett falsified Stacy's records to try to cover his guilt. The medical board likewise implicated him. And a jury awarded Stacy's parents $25.3 million award for the wrongful death of their daughter, $330 in actual damages, and $25 million in aggravated damages. But Barrett carried no insurance, and he didn't even show up for the trial. So that is that rather sad case.